Hey, listener. We hope you've enjoyed season 5 of RecLess as much as we have. We are wrapping up the rest of this season and putting together new episodes for season 6. But as we wait, we are going to highlight some new episodes from a spin-off podcast, This Parks and Rec Life. As much as we believe in professional development of ourselves as Parks and Rec professionals, we also know that we couldn't do this without a supportive home life. We hope that you enjoy these conversations and that they spark meaningful conversations for you. These episodes will be released in our feed currently, but in the future will be released in their own podcast channel and on YouTube. We hope you enjoy them. Now on with the show.
My love is a place you can always call home.
So welcome to This Parks and Rec Life. This is a podcast exploring the impact of a Parks and Recreation career on the relationships of a Parks and Recreation family. So my name is Hannah Mize, and I'm joined today by my guest host and partner in crime, Joshua Keller. Josh, how are you?
How's it going? I'm doing wonderful.
So glad to have you here. And our guests today are Tom Venniro and Melissa Salatino. So welcome, guys. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having us so early on in the life of this amazing podcast. We're excited.
Yeah, I was really excited.
We're so excited to talk to you guys today. Tom is the Hilton-Parma, New York Director of Parks and Rec. Is that correct, Tom?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, didn't want to misspeak. And Melissa is an incredibly talented art teacher, and I have some of her art. So does Josh.
I do.
Yes, and
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes, we are
Some
collectors.
amazing beer mugs.
Those are some of my favorites, don't they?
Yes, I love all of my art. I use it all the time. And they have 3 fantastic, beautiful children, Jack, Amelia, and Maisie. And Tom, I helped you out so you didn't mess up their names.
Thank you. And you named them all.
Thank you.
Couldn't even forget one.
So as you're listening today, you probably recognize Tom. He is one of our co-hosts of RecLess, and we are thrilled to be able to join our RecLess stream and kind of explore a different topic while RecLess is taking a little bit of a break. So thank you, Tom, for giving us the opportunity to explore a different side of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I am so excited to take a week or weeks off from Jay and Shane too. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. We all need a little break every now and then, right?
Oh yeah.
Don't let him fool you. He likes that, like he enjoys having his Friday moments and getting that, I think, that break from work. So don't let him kid you.
I think they all do, actually. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do with the people you like. You know, you give them a little bit.
That's right. That's right. I love it. Well, as we're getting started and we're visiting with you guys today, Melissa, I'll ask this one to you. How long have you guys been married and how did you meet?
We are, bless you. We are on year 9. I'm very excited about year 10 is next year. So you got to come up big. 16.
Yeah. To do some math there. You saw that in my eyes.
Quick math, yeah.
9 sounded real. It sounded like a high number.
No,
but
9.
okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we
flies by.
met because of Parks and Recreation. Being a teacher, I was at the time when I very first started teaching, I was teaching at a Catholic school. I was a student teacher there, and the person that originally was teaching there at the time, you know, she was having more kids, and, you know, Catholic schools don't pay very much, and it didn't make sense for her to, you know, be putting all of her kids in daycare just to work and put her entire paycheck there. So I got that job, and like I said, it didn't make very much money. And during the summer, I needed a side gig, and my entire family pretty much worked at Chile Recreation. So it just kind of felt like, okay, maybe I should go back to doing that, because I did it one previous summer a while ago. So I went back and had the interview with Tom, and nothing, like, you know, I liked him as a boss, but nothing really came of it that first year. And then the second year I came back, we were both in different places. I was out of a very long-term relationship that was like a 7-year relationship that had ended. And my cousin, ironically, started to kind of push me towards Tom. He came on a zoo field trip with us, and I was pretty excited. I don't know why. Like, maybe just like my heart, like naturally kind of maybe knew. I don't know. But he came on the field trip, and my cousin and I, it's one of my favorite stories. It was my cousin, my uncle, and myself. We're at the zoo with Tom. We're talking about my sister's bachelorette party that's coming up. And one of the kids goes, what's a bachelorette party? I'm like, oh, it's just trying to keep it super PG. Like, oh, it's just a party that you have, before someone gets married. And at the time, one of the kids goes, are you married? I'm like, no, I'm not. And then my uncle, without missing a beat, looks over at Tom and goes, you're looking to get married, aren't you, Tom? And I wanted to die. I wanted to just slowly sink under that picnic table and die of embarrassment. And here we are.
Yeah.
9 years later.
No, more than 9 years later. We've been married 9 years. That was in.
All right, then 10
Yeah.
years. We got engaged pretty quick. We only dated for a year.
I love that. Does your uncle take complete credit for putting you guys together?
More of my cousin, because she was working us behind the scenes. Like,
Okay.
she was kind of like being like, hey, Tom, what do you think about Melissa? And then on my end, she's like, Melissa, what do you think about Tom? So
Well, as you guys have moved from being early married into transitioning into a career where you now have kids, you guys, Josh and I were talking about this earlier. He and I were both not married to each other, but married to our spouses early, young. And then we both in our respective families started having kids really young. And so
Yeah.
there was never a time whenever we were like, oh yeah, we've been married for a long time. We got to do all these fun things and we established this routine and then we threw in kids. We just we got married, we had kids, we were in Parks and Rec. It was just all at one time.
We jumped
So
in.
yeah, both feet. So what was it like for you guys where you guys were married for a little while? You had complete routines established and you're doing all these things and then you threw kids into the mix.
you want to take the lead on
Yeah, I got started. It's a shock. It's a real huge life shock from your day to day. We have. I don't mean to talk about other individuals, but now I see it from the side. We have a neighbor who's similar age to us, and to us now, we have a 5-year-old child. They just had their first baby, and I'm seeing the difference now
Yeah.
firsthand from someone else's, from my own lens, how they're experiencing it, and then reflecting on when we first had Jack. Now, on the flip side, we had Jack during COVID. So, if there was a good time, I know that's terrible to say about COVID, but if there was a good time to have a child and not have to break routine, that was the time. The routine wasn't what it used to be, prior to February of 2020. So, either way, we had both had a lot of discussions on that 5 or 6 years into our relationship. We weren't even sure. We were loving that life,
Yeah.
we're not huge partiers, but we love to travel.
Yeah.
And we just really enjoyed the freedom of doing what we wanted to do. I know that's so selfish, but it's also there's demands prior to forget about doing what you want to do. This job, Hannah, Josh, that the meetings, the events, especially depending on when we met in our career. I was a little earlier in my career in Chi-Li, so my roles and responsibilities shifted. It was more almost every weekend night, whatever type of event, whereas now it's shifted into the director or leadership role where it's more meetings and then you add the events. So at that time, I had that demand. Melissa had gotten her
was
side business
crazy.
off the ground in 2017. You both referenced the artwork that you have sitting somewhere that you occasionally enjoy a nice refreshment out of. She started that business, I want to say in 17,
No, it was
16,
16, but it
it boomed.
exploded.
So it was, she was doing, Melissa was doing paint classes, especially
Multiple.
during the holiday season. Like right now, it would have been twice, sometimes 3 times a week, getting ready for, maybe more.
No, there was one season that in the month of December, I had 23 paint parties. It was one after
wow.
another. And I didn't see Tom. It was great. I made a lot of money. It was awesome.
Yeah. So there was, it was great. Yes,
Yeah.
it was great.
No more.
And there was a time where we were somewhat content thinking we may not have kids. And COVID wasn't the reason we did that. We were pregnant going into that.
Yeah. No.
But there was just a decision that we made. It. I honestly don't even remember the reason why we said, let's have kids. Did we?
Are you for real?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
I'm glad we're videoing.
We had a surprise pregnancy. And although I was only pregnant, I was about 5 weeks pregnant. I only knew about the pregnancy for 2 days. And then we unfortunately, we miscarried. And like that really kind of made me go, oh, maybe I do want to be a mom. And we had to, then decide like, okay, like, do we want to keep going with this lifestyle or do we want to try for a family? And his reaction to the surprise pregnancy was kind of what made me lean towards it because I was panicking. I was like, what are we going to do? And he goes, I'm actually kind of excited. And I was like, really? And then, like I said, 2 days later, we did end up miscarrying. And then, Jack, he's our rainbow baby.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And the life, I wouldn't take it back for anything as you've all heard me probably talk about on the podcast. Everything happens for a reason. We do believe in that. We know that there are some bad things that happen and always some good things too. So, we went that route of being unsure if that's what we wanted to do. Very different from your journeys. And we have a third child and I'm 42 years old. And I feel like there should be no 42-year-old parent of a baby. But here I am. I'm living to tell about it. And
it keeps you young.
Yeah.
It does.
Makes you old too.
It does.
Exactly. Wait till they start moving around and like playing sports and you're like, oh, my body can't handle this. So Mason's 12 and turns 10 and like they're full in sports and like, man, being 40, I'm like, my knees are not gonna hold up for much longer, guys.
Yeah, I feel it too, not even near just the little, hey, let's sign them up for a Pee Wee sports class and it's once a week or in this last case it was flag football. That said, that can segue probably to maybe somewhere you're gonna go if you want, but I just want to add that despite that change and shift in life, I think we've talked about this, all of us. I love having my family around my work. That may be the most powerful, impactful byproduct of this. I loved what I did before I had children because I knew what it was doing for other individuals and what we were able to provide bring community together. But then when you were able to bring your children and your wife into the fold and experience those same experiences that you've seen countless smiles from the community, that's been the best byproduct of starting a family. And maybe at this point in my career as well, there's, a little bit more pull to show them the behind the scenes.
Yeah. So that is a good segue. I kind of want to ask this question. So how have you adapted, Tom, your work-life balance after having kids and prioritizing y'all's relationship?
It's a good question. And I don't know that I'm great at it. I'll be very honest and open with anybody. I don't have a great answer, but we did talk about this on the last podcast about taking care of yourself so that you can show up in your best way for whoever it is, your work, your coworkers, your team members, and your family support system. I would say that it was a challenge. I'm going to let Melissa tell you a story about the hospital when we were having children. That will give you a little bit of an idea of maybe how I handle some of this. But I will say over time, I've seen some improvements in myself, baby steps. Baby steps.
It takes time.
And yes. And I think I wasn't willing at first I thought, this might be an old school mentality. And I've actually just gone through this again because I had a coworker have a baby about, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago. And then we had Maisie 5 weeks ago. Old school mentality might be, I'm in this. And again, I enjoy what I do. But even if you didn't enjoy what you do many, many years ago, husband, whoever it might be, 2 days after the child was born and out of the hospital, you're going to work.
Yep.
And so when Jack was born, I don't think it was 2 days, but it was.
I got 1 week.
I spent a week home with Jack. Now, if you tell most individuals these days, and I'm not going to point out any generations, but I know there are certain laws out there, FMLA, and you tell them 1 week. I had someone after 2 weeks, so I've grown. Baby steps. I take 2 weeks now with the children.
I was lucky. I got 2 weeks.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I get back that first week and there's a parent in the daycare and her husband are walking, and she looks at me and she says, "You're back already?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm back here, ready to work." She goes, "Oh, you're not taking your full 12 weeks?" And my brain, that doesn't compute.
Yeah.
But that computes to a lot of individuals these days. So that's just the baby portion of it. As far as just in general, it's hard. It's hard to miss things that the children are experiencing because of a meeting, and we talk about this a lot. When you bring them to an event, it's really nice to show them a little perk here and there. Like, "Hey, Jack, I was so reluctant to do this at the beginning. Melissa just kind of said, 'Hey, just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen?' But hey, Jack, let's go on a golf cart ride. I got to go out and see the people who are going to launch the fireworks. Insurance purposes, I'm a Boy Scout. I do not like breaking the rules." And I'm like, I should not have
Rule follower.
I should not have a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old on this golf cart right now, or this gator, or whatever it is. But I've gotten better about that. Taking them up on stage, doing that type of thing. So immersing them when I can, because I do know there's going to be a time during an event where someone's going to call me and I have to step away, and I'm not going to experience every part of that event with the children. So I take baby steps. I've tried to adjust. It's still work in progress.
In this relationship, I was very delusional, and I was like, well, when we get married, it'll get better. And then it didn't get any better. And then when we have children, maybe it'll get better. And it didn't get any better. So now I've just kind of accepted that he's in love with his job. I don't think enjoy is like accurate. I would say is obsessed. Like, you live, eat, sleep, and breathe your job, which is fine. I don't understand it because, like, at the end of the school day, I'm like, nope, we are done with school. Lessons are done. Like, I've gotten really good about like not taking things home and working on the weekends. Like, now that's my time for my kids and my family. So for him, that is totally the opposite. But the story about the hospital was with Jack. He brought his laptop to the hospital. And so they were increasing the Pitocin. And I remember at one point he's, working away. And at the beginning it was fine. And I remember looking over at him and I'm like, I need you to wrap things up. And in my mind, that means like, take another minute, get off your computer and get over here. He's taking his sweet time. It's like 10, 15 minutes. It got to the point where I'm like, I started yelling at him, like, if you don't get off that laptop, it's going out the window. And so when Amelia was born, laptop was not allowed at the hospital. Like, don't you dare even bring it. This time I was a little bit more willing. I'm like, you can bring it. You better do it early because there's going to be a point where I'm not going to be okay with doing this on my own. And I think he had to do like payroll.
Yeah. I mean, there was some administrative
and
pieces that I wasn't prepared for. I will say about this last one. Okay. And first of all, the delusions that Melissa had explained, I understand that you want people to change. There are some traits in individuals that I also believe you can't change. Some things can change, but not everything can change in a person's brain. So when I go to leave for a day before we had kids, and Melissa's saying, "Are you going to leave soon?" And it's been the same with kids. "Are you going to leave soon?" This isn't just a Melissa thing. This is a thing in the middle of the day when I have to go for a lunch or a meeting. I'm in the middle of something, and I just that's a me thing.
Time.
I need to get it done, and it's very hard for me to stop what I'm doing. So I do agree. Melissa was delusional in thinking that was going to change. Now, that said, this last situation with Maisie, we had a great birthing experience. It was I say we, right? It was a very smooth birthing experience.
Smooth.
It was very easy on me. I had a really decent night's sleep when we got admitted, and then the baby was born at 8:51 a.m.
Yeah.
I have an email receipt from 8:37 a.m. That's how quick the process was. Now, Melissa was okay with this one. It wasn't supposed to be that way. They didn't know she was as dilated, all that stuff. So I'm just working in the morning. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be done in 15 minutes. And then they're going to get the ball rolling. Doctor came in while I was in the middle of something. He's like, no, I think you're ready to go now. Yeah. And so I'll never forget that time.
Epidurals work wonders.
8:51 a.m. was the birth of Maisie. And I have an email that went out at 8:37.
That's awesome.
Didn't get yelled at this time, though.
Well, because the epidural was working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you for those drugs, right?
Yes, it was
Absolutely.
great.
Whenever we had Hayden was a pretty easy birth experience too. And we had gone in that night. I worked a full day, the whole day, went into labor that evening, and he worked the full day. He took off from 8 till like midnight. Well, we had the birthing experience, if you will, gave me a kiss, took all the kids home, and the next day was back at work. So I didn't even get a week. So be thankful.
I guess I gotta be grateful. I would have killed you.
It's a lifestyle.
I know.
You know,
Well, and you know what though, that parental expectations have changed for families too, because
Yeah.
19 years ago, that was a very common thing. Like
Were
that
all the kids at the hospital with you?
They were home, I think, with family, and he went
Oh,
home and
okay.
like relieved them and took kids home and put
yeah.
them to bed, but yeah, but no, there was no time. There was about that 4 hours.
Yeah.
Had that baby, and then
4
off we went.
yeah, 20 years
It
ago,
was-
not only was it the expectations of someone of what kind of time off they were going to have, but also think about the access. So many people have access, and that's to our fault in this profession. We give access to ourselves, and when someone gets that access at a time that's not during the typical workday, they don't stop trying to get that access.
They're gonna
It's
abuse it. Yep.
Yep. You
Yeah,
give
it's
give a mouse a
true.
cookie. And so that's also unique. 20 years ago, like at least Shane probably, I'm gonna guess, knowing Shane, he didn't know how to operate a laptop at that point. He was using a BlackBerry or maybe a flipper. So he probably had some kind of boundaries. But yeah, it's now even more access.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I've had his coworkers text me to get a hold of him, and I'm like, what is happening?
I love that. Well, that kind of leads into this next question. Tom, this one's for you. What is the hardest part for Melissa about being married to you? Like the impact of your job on her. What do you think is the hardest part?
I think it's shifted over time. And that's, I hope to say, if there's anything that someone gets out of these episodes, for at least our episode, I should say, is that everybody's situation is not the same and that your relationship should evolve. So relationships should evolve, whether it's regarding work or is that you take on different parental roles. And for us, I've seen so much evolution. And Hannah, you probably know some of this. What I'll start with in that evolution is that when we first started dating and got engaged and all that, Melissa showed me, she showed me, obviously, I fell so deeply in love with her in the connection and how much she cared and wanted to be in my presence was not anything that I was accustomed to.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a great feeling when someone, and I'm not saying that that's not the case for everybody, but Melissa really wanted the time, whether it was couch time, right after school, whatever it might be. I mean, our whole personal situation, it was a jumble at first until we moved in together, but we made it work. We took our dogs. We each had a dog. I had a golden retriever. Melissa had a Shih Tzu. Whenever we were transporting between one place or another, they came with us. It was a family unit, but we didn't live together, and that's always a challenge. But we really made a lot of sacrifices to be together as much as we could. And so once we moved in, and even before that, the conferences, both of you, Josh, your story about Katy and the train tracks and the phone is classic. Melissa struggled with that the first time that I really went away for a conference. It could have been a state conference that was 2.5 days and then followed by a national conference that was 5 days. So that was the first piece, was just me not being around and having the attention, the bond, and the closeness. And so, we worked through that. There were things that we did. Melissa would write me handwritten letters, and she's an artist, and her envelope would always had some kind of drawing on the day. I would open it every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Evolution happens. That doesn't happen anymore.
At the time.
I'm just kidding. All right. But she did it, and she did it strong.
Wow.
And it was, I'll never forget that. I saved them all. We would find a time. And again, Hannah, you and I have been around each other at conferences many, many times. Josh, you too. We always find time to have that phone call.
Yeah.
Now FaceTime. Even if I'm out at a social or a networking event where it's kind of loud, I find a quiet place like where Josh is. Maybe it's a stairwell and people are passing me up and down, but I find it. and we make it happen. And of course, that's evolved as we've had kids. So that was the first challenge. I think
I was mad. Like I didn't get it at first. At first I was like, what do you
Yeah.
mean you can't take
Yeah.
my phone call? Or what do you mean you can't talk to me? Like
I
Yeah.
it
completely
was
understand that.
hard because
Yeah.
what do you mean you like going to a conference or enjoy it and you're going to be there for 5 days? Yeah.
Yeah.
All those things. And yeah, and then it evolved to maybe mid-career, especially when I got to Parma, was the meetings, and
I still
that's
struggle with those meetings.
and she's gotten better. I've had many times where I've had to say this is a requirement of the job. There are some meetings that I could push. There's some that I can't. And then maybe now I there's not as many. As I said, Melissa's gotten so much more understanding, maybe through communication, maybe it's the children, but I would have thought that when we had children, it would have gotten a lot harder. She does not complain at all when I'm at these meetings, and rarely. And she's watching now 3 children. I complain all the time. She just went to a hair appointment last night, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're going to leave me for 2 hours and 15 minutes?" And the baby is congested. She was sick, and I'm holding her for about an hour and 15 minutes of that. It's chaos. I screamed at one point. My son went like this. I was like, "Dude, I wasn't yeah." I go, "Wasn't it yelling at you, man? I just needed to get it out. I'm trying to help you on this computer, and this baby won't stop crying. And your sister, I don't even know what she's doing. She could be down the street at another house right now." So I go on that rant to tell you that I don't know the things that I deal with that are difficult. Melissa's done so great with that. So again, maybe it's having the children in the family unit. It's definitely softened. Are there still things that you really struggle with?
I mean, the meeting, it's more of, I don't mind the meetings. It's more of the summertime or days off where it's an extra long day. That's when it gets me. I'm like, oh, please, for the love of God, someone shoot me. He's got a town board meeting tonight. It's only then when it's extended beyond the workday. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like I've kind of, sorry guys, I've kind of grown and like learned and just kind of got accustomed to like, okay, this is just how things are. Like, I'm not going to change this guy. I might as well just buckle up and kind of evolve and adapt and kind of go with the flow. So
Actually really love that. I think that's something that we've talked about. Josh and I have talked about, Shane and I have
Yes.
talked about that. I'm sure you have with Katy as well, is that, if you don't like the stage that you're in, give it 5 minutes and it'll change, right? Like the stage that you're in right now, even though it feels like it's going to last for forever, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it eventually will change, and you have to change your expectations. And it's so important to keep having conversations around that as you're moving from one thing to the next, because like you say, like Tom's job changed. So then the requirements changed, and then you added kids. And so then that changed. So yeah. So with that, Josh, do you have a question you want to go with?
I do. So this is for Melissa. What is your favorite part about Tom being in the Parks and Rec field?
There's a lot. Before kids, I would say, even just as a like wife, the perks of that VIP access, like he would have like an animal night, and they would bring in all these like cute little critters, and I was holding this it was a kind of fox, and it was just snuggling on my shoulder, like no one else
Just like that.
actually just like this, and no one else got to snuggle this little fox, and just having like some of those perks. But I would say now with having kids, I would say the hardest thing, ironically, the hardest part about this job is your schedule. But one of the best parts about this job is your schedule, like the flexibility, being a teacher. Hannah, getting a sub and doing a sub, like you would rather come to school as a zombie and dying rather than writing a sub plan.
Yes,
so like
you
when
would.
the kids are sick, like it's hard. So like he's running, the doctor's appointments, and he's gotten better about like taking time, now that I know how much sick time this man has. He's gotten better about like taking one for the team and staying home when the kids are sick, or going to the events that I can't, or I'm home with Maisie. I'm at a doctor's appointment. I couldn't go to Jack's little outdoor walking activity, and he was, and Jack, lit up that his daddy was there. But the other thing is just having that inside access, being like, hey, you don't have baby swings at the park. Can we make that happen? Like,
Yeah, there
and
you
just
go.
having that direct link, like, why are we the only town without a splash pad? Like, so just having, a little bit of a like, a little, I'm a squeaky wheel. Like,
You're an
takes
inside
time.
shopper, a
Yeah,
secret shopper.
exactly. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
took forever to get that baby swing. It took like 2 years to get that baby swing, but we got it.
That's why we kept having babies. Just
So you can make sure and use it.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
But yeah.
that's the definition of government sometimes, right?
Jack
It's so
phased out.
that's funny.
And just being
Uh,
creative. Like it's kind of nice having, he will sometimes ask me to, design something for him, and just having a little bit of that ownership. Like, even though it's not my job, I'm like, oh, that's the HP Rec logo is my logo. And, having just, yeah, just a little bit of ownership and little ties in there where here and there, like,
Yeah,
oh, there's that, brochure that I put together for them is
that's
kind
super
of
cool.
fun. Yeah.
I love that. As you're talking about the perks that you've benefited from and that your kids have benefited from and your family, what is your favorite part about watching Tom in his role? Like you get to see him do like all different kinds of things. What's your favorite part about watching him as a Parks and Rec professional?
I would say just seeing what all the sacrifices are worth, or like, all the
Yeah,
things that you're sacrificing,
yeah,
his time away, his meetings, and seeing him in that role, especially at events, like he's just in his element. And it's just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's you're just watching someone in their element. You're kind of beaming. I kind of live vicariously, through him. I'm so proud of all the things that he's accomplished, and he's so humble about it. Like for me, I would be bragging nonstop about all the awards if I had the
yeah.
amount of awards that he has. But like he's just done so much, and he's grown so much, and now he's, going around the country and doing conferences and speaking engagements. And I'm so beyond proud of just how he's grown and how he's you know, giving his time back in a new way. And it's just really, really kind of cool to see. Yeah.
So,
I'm very
so,
jealous of his job. Like I really sometimes I'm like, why did I choose to become an art teacher? I should
so,
have gone to this. Like
yeah,
it's just I
Well,
know that there's a lot of hard work and there's
yeah.
more, you know, it's really tough, but sometimes I'm a little envious of his job.
I love it. I love and as a fellow teacher too, I enjoyed my time so much in being able to feel like I was having a huge impact and giving back. I mean, I think I counted it up one time and I've had over 4,000 students that have come through my classroom doors.
Oh,
And you too, Melissa, because you're in a school where you see every single kid. And so the
yeah.
impact that you have and the way that you're able to give back is really, really special. So I love that you see that in what Tom is doing. I love
Yeah.
that it makes you a little bit jealous too, because I think that being able to make an impact can be a little bit, I hate to say addicting, but at the same time, it's a really rewarding feeling to feel like you're really able to make a huge impact.
Yeah.
Tom, with that, if you were to choose any position for Melissa in Parks and Rec, what do you think that she would excel at?
Mm.
She
Wow.
says she's jealous. So once these
I
kids
think
are
that's
in
easy.
school,
It, it's easy, but it's a loaded question.
oh, okay.
First of all, I just want to comment and thank Melissa for what she said. If you need a brag for someone who's humble, now I know I just gotta have Melissa do some PSAs. Clearly I'm the greatest ever based on what she said. So
Absolutely.
no, and I agree with Melissa. It's hard sometimes to even really share that because there's a lot of focus on celebrating everything else that's going on. So I appreciate that. As far as bringing in Melissa, I mean, yeah, we don't based on our needs and based on what I know of Melissa, and I'll get into why it's a loaded question slash answer. We don't have a marketing department, and I've relied on Melissa's eye and skills for so much of that, and for so much of what I see and compare around the area. we have people that come to us because of that, and we don't even have a marketing department. The logo is fascinating story that I don't know if we've ever said, but I used to umpire baseball. Josh, I don't know if we ever talked about that, but I
No.
umpired at a fairly high level,
Yeah.
and the highest level was American Legion and
Okay. Yeah.
some of that stuff. So American Legion 25 years ago was a lot different than it is
It
now.
was huge. Yeah.
And
Everybody played American Legion baseball
everybody.
in the
And
summer.
to
Yeah.
that point, side story for Josh, Melissa and Hannah, this will mean nothing to you, but any baseball fans out there and Josh, we're in the Western New York area. It's not a huge, you don't see a bunch of guys going into the majors or minors, but there's a small handful. And I got the privilege for about 3 years to umpire Ernie Clement in his days
Okay.
in American Legion.
That's
Phenomenal
awesome.
player, phenomenal player. And he,
Yep.
saw he had a real nice light shine on him in the World Series. So
Sure did.
anyway, segue. He was actually just here. He came back home, did a couple signings for the Red Wings and things like that. But
awesome.
but either way, I used to umpire baseball. Melissa, as I mentioned earlier, very supportive wife, very much wanted to be involved with what I did. And baseball, who doesn't love a baseball game? Even if you don't like baseball. I'm not talking about watching the game. I'm talking about being at a baseball game. It is outside. It is pure serenity. There are sounds that you hear, the snap of a ball hitting a bat, the
Yep.
snap, going into a glove, or just the people talking. Of course, if you're taking it up to a different level, to a game, it's a whole experience. We had Dan
Yeah.
Mason from the Red Wings. You can look at that as what we do every day. It's food, it's entertainment on the field, all that. So Melissa, not that this is what's happening at every American Legion game, but Melissa loved going to Red Wings game with me and other games. And so she would come and watch me umpire, which was also very bizarre. And
He loved it.
as
He
in-
miss it. I actually do miss it.
to speak to what an umpire hopefully is, I'm not saying that's what you should be, but for me, and Melissa's mentioned that I'm humble, I want to be the person that nobody sees.
Yeah.
And yet I've got a person in the crowd that's literally watching me. That was very weird. I got to be honest, but I appreciated her support. And luckily, she never saw any altercations on the field, but she would do random things while I was umpiring. And one of those was to create a logo design for us. So while watching us play or watching me umpire, watching kids play, I remember coming back one day and she showed me a sketchbook. We still have the sketchbook, I assume, and it's got all these different designs. So I say all that to say that our son and our kids now see our logo and they see our park and they go, they're 3 and 5. So they go,
Yeah.
that's daddy. That like they see a picture and they're like, that's daddy. Or they see my playground, like that's daddy's playground.
Yeah.
And they associate every time that logo is everywhere. We
Yeah.
brand the hell out of what we do here. And it's lived on for many, many years and it'll continue to live on. She would be great if we had someone as a full-time position with that. I just feel like we can go in so many different directions, the social media, all that. Now, I say that with a grain of salt and a loaded piece. Melissa came into my office a couple weeks ago, and we have a newer team member who doesn't have that many interactions. She's been with us for about a year, and Melissa's talking to her about the baby and all that stuff. And afterwards, I said, Melissa, I think we maybe shared too much, some TMI there. Just my opinion. They're new. They're a younger staff. I'm like, okay. In the middle of that, and then I told Melissa the story. In the middle of one of the things Melissa said in this interaction, and again, it was 4:30. The workday was over. We were leaving. This new individual laughed, and I was like, I don't know how they're going to receive what Melissa said. And she said, man, I love Melissa. She's like the little devil on your shoulder. So I mentioned that earlier. Like she sees me as this Boy Scout at work, and she comes in and she's just shooting off the cuff. So I don't know how much control I would want to give her with social media and commenting and things like that, knowing what I know about.
That's hard. I get really because now that we live in the community, which is like one of the biggest things, like I wish we would have moved here earlier. I don't know why I was so against living where he worked. Man, my life would have been so much easier if we just moved here earlier. But I get really defensive, because I'm on those group posts and I see the negative, and I've gotten better. You have in the beginning, I would just be totally I am gonna come at these people. Don't you dare say anything bad about my husband and his program. And now I know like I will get in trouble with him like if I say anything. Now I do like the that I can post anonymously. Because like yeah, it's hard. Like
It is so hard.
yeah.
That leads straight into it. And Josh and I have had this conversation so many times. It is the hardest thing to watch the person that you love just get ripped apart in the court of public opinion,
Mhm.
whether that is on Facebook or whether it's you're out and about. I mean, Shane told a story just the other day. We were out and about the other day, and I'd sat and talked to this guy, and then all of a sudden he comes over and just starts giving Shane an earful about, his full 5 minute public commentary. And as a public servant, you really do have to just sit there and take it. And it is
Yeah.
so hard as a spouse. I mean, Josh, you jump in too. It's
Oh no, I just these board meetings too. Like, like they're standing up there and then everybody's just hammering them. I'm just like, man, it's especially like kind of on the flip side of it, my wife, trying to be a protector of her. And it's like,
Mhm.
I, you know, that's why I kind of have to take a few steps back, like, because I don't want to like, embarrass her or and say the wrong thing. So like it's super hard for me, just trying to be a protector of my wife and things like that.
Yeah, that's also something that I've definitely learned too, is that me saying something doesn't make it better. And
Yeah,
in the end, it just makes it worse because the people that were going to say something, their opinion is going to pass. Other things are going to come of it. And me stirring the fire, stirring the flames, getting him in trouble with his boss because I said something, and now he's being talked about because I did something that didn't
Yeah.
help anything. And so that is, but it's really hard. That is a really hard thing that people don't necessarily talk about too, be able to sit there and your person,
Yeah.
the reasoning, there's always a story behind it that the public doesn't hear.
Right.
There's so many things that go
Yeah, oh
into a
yeah.
decision, you're not allowed to air. And I'm always like, why can't we just tell them blank, blank, and blank that this came about because of these things?
Yeah.
That's not the way that works.
Right.
So
Well, just that and like social media in general. Like as Hannah, as you know, like I'm a very politically charged person and I have like over time, like I think I've gotten a whole lot better, but like a few years ago, like I was very like, I'm going to blast out my political beliefs and my social beliefs like via Facebook for the whole world to see. And Tom's had to like rein me in. And I think I've done a better job of like being more conservative and keeping my political and my just opinions to myself. But like even like with those social media groups, like I had one slip the other day or like a month ago, and I was crossing the street with Amelia, and there was a car coming really far in the distance, came up to the crosswalk, and poor Amelia is taking her little sweet time. And this person, just laid on the horn. And my poor little like daughter, she was like so scared and kind of traumatized. And I'm 9 months pregnant. My hormones are raging. And I just went berserk on the lady. And so I should have just left it there, but no, I went to social media and got on the Hilton Facebook group and be like, I hope the person that, honked at me and my daughter, and I probably should have did the 24-hour rule, let it slide and like took a moment,
yep,
but everyone saw it and everyone was like, Tom, what's going on with your wife? And like, she was really amped up and I like, ooh,
you're a mama bear.
I did. And
Mama
it
bear
wasn't my
came out.
finest moment. And I like looking back, even though he knew, like, and I knew that I messed up. He's like, what's going on? You were like, what's happening on Facebook? And I'm like, nothing, leave me alone. Like, I knew I was in trouble. I knew I messed up, but I didn't want to admit, like, because it was already unleashed.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, and I would say that's one of the hardest things too. I mean, I've been told, no, I can't serve on boards, or no, I can't do things because it is it's a conflicting interest
Oh, yeah.
because of Shane's position. And yeah, you too, right? Like you can't be a normal mama bear citizen
Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
because of the position. That's kind of hard too.
Yeah.
So no. Yeah, all the different things. Well, talked quite a lot. We're getting to the end of our interview, but as we're wrapping up, um, like if you were to go back to the beginning of this, Tom, back to the beginning of your whole job and your career, is there anything that you would change or do differently as far as like putting in a new like parameters or boundaries, or is there anything that you would change or do differently?
Regarding obviously the support
Yeah, just
system
the
and family. Yeah, I
family
mean, first thing I
dynamic.
would do is make sure that there was no social media access. That would probably be the first thing I would do if I can go back in time. And that's an easy one. In in all seriousness, I don't Jay Tryon, one of our co-hosts, when we did our three rules, he had mentioned that he lives by a motto of no regrets. I don't want to say that I subscribe to that 100%. There are things that I regret. I think let's put it pretty simply. I regret eating something I ate 24 hours ago if it didn't set well, right? Like there's things that I think don't matter in life that you could say, okay, I regret that one. You wish you could take that back. Or you're at a restaurant, even easier. Man, I wish I got that sandwich instead of this sandwich. That looks amazing. Simply put, for the big decisions in life though, when it comes to family and relationships, it's hard to have regrets. I believe that we talked about everything happens for a reason. I also believe in that butterfly effect. So all these little decisions that we make lead us to somewhere. And so I would say that the way that we went about it was our way. It's our story, and it's led us to a really great place. A really great place. Now, I know that's not always going to be the case for everybody. So if I could say one piece of that I would go back, I would know a lot more about what this job entails, what it's going to demand of me, and I would have those conversations a lot sooner. It's very hard in the moment, especially when we met. I was just over 30 years old, very young. I didn't know what was going to happen. I got that director job at 30. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had already been with Melissa at that point. So I couldn't educate her any better than I can educate myself.
And what I didn't realize was different towns have different expectations. So when he was in Chile, I was like, Mike Curley isn't going to all these like meetings afterward. Why do you have to go do all of this outside? So that was really hard. Like it was a lot of comparison or what am I trying to say? Comparisons. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that was the biggest thing was I got to focus on what his job has to require of him and stop looking at what all the other towns do or don't do.
Yeah. No, I think that's valid. We comparison's the thief of joy. Whatever amazing president said that, or I'm trying to think if it was a Roosevelt or something, but it is, and it kills me all the time. I think it gets to everybody, and I'd love to say that to coworkers, like just don't look at the other person, focus on you, and that is so hard though. You could say it as much as you want, but it's not easy to not look at what's on the other side and say, man, maybe that would be great. As opposed to living in the moment and enjoying what you have or being appreciative of what you have. This job has given me so much. It's given my family so much. I think it's given my wife so much. It continues to give to us. So I would really, really I would urge individuals who are early on in these relationships to keep that in mind, that it's not always going to be roses. That's for sure. But if you look at the perspective and understand what it's giving you or giving that person on the other side, Melissa totally gets that now. She definitely gets what it gives me. But at the beginning, I don't know that it was that easy to say that she did. So having those conversations openly, and I don't know that we always were great at that either, having every conversation, but over time they happened. And like I said, we're in a pretty good place right now. So it's I don't know if that answered it completely, but
you wouldn't have like gone out of state or tried something like new before like settling down and starting a family? Because I know that
I think that would have changed everything.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That would have changed everything, the way and decisions we made with the kids. And it would have impacted us and our trajectory. So no, I think that what I was talking about going back in time was really more pertaining to if everything else stayed the same, what I can go to make it a little more smoother and alleviate some of the bumps in the road.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of answered the question, but what advice would you guys give to younger Parks and Rec professionals, kind of on both perspectives? You know, Melissa from you and Tom from you.
Well, I already said this. I would say like move into your community sooner, like because I've lived both of those lives, and it's night and day so much easier being he's right down the street. So going to an event or going to pick the kids up from daycare or doing anything, if he has to run out and go to the VFW, it's right around the corner. It's not that big of a deal. It's not a, half a day task anymore. So I would say like maybe consider moving into, and it has its downfalls. Now they have easier access to him, but I would say the benefits far outweigh the negatives. I personally would just say, I wish I could go back and just take advantage of the conferences. Again, needed to save up for maternity leave, or I don't want to write sub plans. And I'm like, gosh darn it, I really missed out on, and again, but at the same time, I need to be like honest. I was also broke back then, money's finally like easier. So I do recognize that I didn't have the funds or the means to like just be, dropping, $200 or $300 on a plane ticket to go to conferences with him. But I'm very envious of you guys. Like I'm very jealous. I'm like, oh, it must be so nice, like to just go. Like
Philly's coming up,
Yep.
Yeah.
Your time's coming. Come with us.
I'm gonna do Houston. I'm definitely doing Houston.
And we could probably, I was say we could probably do like a weekend in Philly because the teaching is gonna, that's gonna be there. It's that's never going away. Philly's close enough.
I gotta get tenured.
But I would say Philly's close enough that it's only an hour flight, so you might be able to fly on your own. That's a whole nother thing that we don't do a whole lot.
Put on my big girl pants. Fly by myself.
Yeah.
Well, and if you remember, whenever I was teaching, I would come in on Tuesday night. And so that way I had taught Tuesday. And so then I only was off like Wednesday, Thursday. And sometimes so you can kind of finagle it that way too, to where you can still be in there.
Yeah. No, but Houston for sure. I want to go.
Well, we definitely want to hang out with you. Lots of fun things. And I can't wait to show Josh around Houston too, because once again, we've been to a couple Texas stops and I'm like, I know where to go while we're here, friends.
I'm excited. Philly cheesesteaks all week, every day. We're gonna try a different one. I don't know. They're probably. I was about to say something that would really upset Philadelphia natives, so I'm not gonna say that. However, I like a good Philly cheesesteak. I'm just assuming I make it different. My last piece of advice that I wanted to add to that, because Melissa said it well, and I put some notes in the last question, would be about communicating and how you're communicating and celebrating wins and losses.
Yep.
The job we talked about earlier, this job, and always, every level, just like having kids, every age, different challenges.
Yep.
This job, same thing. Every level, different challenges. So at a programmer level, you're running a summer camp. You are inundated with parents who are not happy about something that happened with their child, just like teaching. That's your biggest challenge. You're getting those, and you're hoping that doesn't get elevated to your director or whoever it is that supervises you. But those are your challenges. Now, at a director level, those challenges elevate to another level, whether it's counsel and fighting so hard for something that you just couldn't win that battle or tell the story well enough for them to agree and push forward to it. Or it's, again, that community member who it's a totally different level. This isn't summer camp, but they're coming at you because of something that happened, whether it was a team member or who knows what it is. But we work through those challenges. And I would say this goes for any job. It works both ways, but the venting process. We talked about this just before the episode. There's some times that I just want to vent and I do not want to hear what I did wrong or how you think your solution would be better than mine.
Yeah.
There are no safe zones in this. We talked about that. This is such a public facing job. I can't vent. I would never, first of all, but I can't vent on social media. I don't talk to my family. That's me. I don't talk to my family about the job
At all. I don't even think they know what he does.
I'm not really bringing that to friends. Melissa is that support system. She is that soundboard. So, and I am that for her.
But do I do a good job with
so
that?
some days You could tell she doesn't want to deal with it. She's over it because there's something happening maybe with the kids, and she says something that I don't want to hear. And I was like, well, that's not why I told you this. I told you
Yeah.
this because it's happening and I just wanted to get it off my chest.
No, that's funny because that's Katie and I, and I'm like, my first question is, do you
Do
just
you
want me to
want
listen, or do you want to give
I like
feedback?
that, Josh.
That's the first question. I was like, you just want to, hey, yell at me? I don't care, or do you want me to give feedback? So that's my first question when she comes in. I'm like, all right, how do you want to handle this one right now?
I got to be better about that.
No, I really love that. It's great. And honestly,
Yeah.
that's really great advice because that can set the tone of a night,
Yeah,
an evening.
right, yeah, of
Right,
course.
where you say something and the response is, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that you're experiencing that,"
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the
yeah.
alternative.
Because I mean, there was times where I was like, well, it kind of sounds like you were at fault here. Like, why are you being like that? She's like, excuse me. I'm like, that's you just wanted
Lesson.
me to listen. You just wanted me to listen, not give feedback. Okay.
But it is hard. Like,
Misread the room there.
Yeah.
there has been, well, it's hard because like in my profession and like I love listening to the podcast and I love like hearing things that, how like Shane wasn't the first pick. And I know like in my job, I wasn't the first pick as an art teacher at my previous district. So that kind of like made me feel better. Like, hey, I can succeed and do great things and not always be the first pick. And with the episode where someone, was let go, that was really powerful too, in knowing like, okay, you can pick up and move on from that. I went through a situation this past year. Like this past year has been a roller coaster. I was at a district that I really loved and I thought that was going to be my forever district. And Tom, has been very good about like keeping that, personal and private. But I was let go. I was denied tenure, even though my principal loved me, the teachers loved me, the kids loved me. I had no write-ups, but things at the higher level, to this day, I still don't know who I rubbed the wrong way because everything on paper looked perfect, but I was still being denied tenure. And so that, like, when he was having some troubles with some of his staff, I was having a hard time. Like, I am getting really angry because I did everything perfect, A, B, C, and D, and I, was let go for, who knows what. And there you do have these staff that just continue to make mistake after mistake after mistake. And I was kind of getting, angry with him to the point where I was like, I don't want to hear about, some issues that are happening at work because I'm feeling resentful because, they're getting chance after chance after chance where didn't even know what I did wrong. And that was really hard to swallow, like being on the other end. And that knowing, also like when he had to let people go, like that was hard for me, on the other end too. Like I remember when he had to let a staff member go, oh, it wasn't working out. And I just cried. I cried for him because I knew like how hard it was and like what a toll that is and coming out of nowhere. And so it's hard being on then both ways.
Yeah, I guess reading the room and asking if this is something you want to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your mental state today? How much
Right.
of this do we? Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like not bringing your own baggage into a situation. I
Yeah.
mean that you color the situation. That can also be difficult. Guys, this has been really great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. I was so excited when Tom told me about this. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yes, we've been really excited to visit with couples that are successful, that are doing great things, that are not just surviving this, but are thriving in this. And what works for Josh and Katie, what works for Shane and me, what works for you guys may not work for everyone, but I think it's so important for people to hear the successes and the struggles of couples that are going through this, right? That this is a normal thing that
It's real. It's real life,
Yeah. Hard conversations are important. It's important to keep talking,
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
You're going to keep me
Fantastic.
busy now. I'm going to be listening to their podcast and your podcast now. So I'm going to have a full plate of podcasts.
I was going to say, Melissa said she was excited. I was nervous for a lot of reasons.
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to tell you one of those reasons. But one is Think about this when Brandon Washington comes on with his wife. They were one of our recent podcast guests, and Brandon's he's the man. He has got energy. He is really doing great things. Young professional. They just had their first child, but they're also fairly young. We had our first child older, but they're young. They're early on in their journey as husband and wife. I'm telling you, that man gushes about his wife, and his wife gushes about him. You're going to make some people jealous here and there. I'm just going to say it. So now I got Melissa, who's going to be listening to these episodes, is going to say, well, why don't you do that for me?
Yeah.
So let's cut some of that if you're making other people look bad.
Let's make it realistic,
Yes.
Let's bring down expectations a little bit, right?
No gushing, no gushing. I would like to say though that you two did gush about each other in this one.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you to go back
you
and
did good.
process what you both said about each other, because I think that's really special for y'all to hear.
Yeah, I'm excited to listen back.
Fantastic. Well, guys, until next time, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Love